World Cup Podcast, Episode 2. Ready? What is up, Wildcats? My name is Jay Paredes.
And I'm Nate Thomas.
And welcome back to our World Cup Predictions Podcast, Episode 2 this time. So, Nate, where are we going this time?
Alright, so last episode we were able to talk through all the groups. For the most part, we kind of agreed on who was going to come out of the groups. Well, now we've thrown all those teams inside of the bracket. We're going to go through the round of 16 all the way through to find our champion.
All right, so let's get started. A1 versus B2. I think this is the most exciting one. Uruguay versus Portugal. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, so you have the winner of Group A in Uruguay and the second place finisher of Group B, Portugal, who just barely edges out to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is going to be probably the best round of 16 matchup that we're going to see. You know, Uruguay, the very defensive team that they are, who has Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani, who we both praised in episode 1 up top, against Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal team, the Euro defending champions.
Yeah. They
have a lot of pretty good players. I'm not going to say they're world class, but they have depth of pretty good players. You think Bernardo Silva, Ricardo Quaresma, players like that can really make an impact on this team, and it'll be a very exciting matchup to see.
Yeah, I mean, Uruguay, like you said, very defensive, and they have two very strong attacking forwards, but I don't think it'll be enough, honestly. I rate Luis Suarez. I think he's the best striker in the world, and Edinson Cavani, he's close up there. They both had really great seasons, but I think Portugal just has a lot of depth, and I think they're going to edge out Uruguay in this one.
I think the main thing about all these matchups is it's one game.
Yes.
Anything can happen. You know, you're not playing at home where you have all your fans strongly behind your back, but you're not also on the road where everybody's booing you the whole entire game. It's that neutral field. You've never played on it before. You don't really know what to expect in an environment in Russia, both very far from Uruguay and Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be a very tough game for both teams. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you. Ronaldo's due to have a big tournament.
Yes.
He didn't have a great Euros, but he had a great end to this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's been scoring loads of goals recently, and I think he's probably going to be one of the top goal scorers this tournament for that Portugal team.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to come away with a goal or two to help lead his team into the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course, right now we're just predicting. We're just kind of measuring these teams to how good they can be and to how much potential they can have. I think it all just gonna depend on who shows up better and who's in better form. I mean, I think they're both just so equal right now. Just maybe on paper, Portugal has more depth, and so I think it's gonna be safer to predict Portugal to win this one.
Yeah, but that's the thing. One game, you never know what is going to happen.
You never know what's gonna happen.
And that's why we saw a Costa Rica team come out of nowhere and get to the quarterfinals last World Cup. And that's why the United States was able to come out of the group stages against Portugal, Germany, and Ghana.
Yes.
And Ghana, who had been very good, they had a good cycle, they had a lot of good players on that team. They weren't supposed to come out, but now you're seeing, like those smaller teams say, hey, what about us? I know we talked about Paraguay. This is their debut inside the World Cup. Maybe they can make a run out of that group stage like we talked about.
Yeah. So I think overall, Portugal, I think we're going to have to agree on that. We're going to have to see. It's going to be very close, but I think Portugal will edge out Uruguay in that one. So we're going to go back down to C1 versus D2, France versus Croatia. I think this one's an easy choice. It's going to be France for me.
Yeah, France is a very good team. I know coming into this podcast, we both really like France. We both really like the players that they have, and we think that they even have a good shot at winning it.
Yes.
Croatia, I know we were a little skeptic on them, but we looked at that team. They have a very strong core group of players that can really make a dent inside of this World Cup, and I think that they can really put a hard game to France, just because the strength that their midfield has. and the way that they can play. But defensively, I just don't see how they can compare to a French front line by Lamar, Griezmann, Olivier Giroud,
Mbappe.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to stack up against that. So I think France will probably come out on top in a game that's going to be like 3-1, but it's going to be a lot closer than what it really is.
Yes. Yeah, like you said, I think the scoreline will be somewhat of a 3-1, but it's not going to be like that on the field. I think it's going to be very tough. It's not going to be anything near easy for France, but I think France can pull through Croatia. All right, let's move back down. E1 versus F2, Brazil versus Mexico.
This might be one of the best of the games that we're going to be able to see. Brazil is a very good team. We just don't know how they play in those one-game type of settings. You think they even had the home crowd behind them when they played Germany, and they got smashed.
Yes.
They went to England not too long ago, and they drew 1-1, where they should have come out on top with a 2-0, maybe 3-1 result. But Mexico, on the other hand, they've had a lot of players in good form. I know we talked about Carlos Vela last episode, just absolutely tearing it up in the MLS. Chicharito always shows up for the national team.
Of course.
You have players just like that are always going to be playing well, always fighting hard for Mexico. But I really don't know. I really don't see them being able to beat that very attacking-minded Brazil team that can also defend very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be closer than France versus Croatia, but I think it's going to be the same scenario. Mexico's really going to make a push. They're really going to put a lot of pressure on Brazil. I mean, you got to remember in the last World Cup, Brazil and Mexico, they drew. Last one is 0-0, and like you said, maybe Brazil was not in the best shape mentally. They maybe had a lot of pressure on them in Brazil's World Cup in 2014. But I think in this one they're a lot more mature. They're a lot more together, a lot more mentally prepared for this one. So I think they'll edge out Mexico in this one.
Yeah, they had a lot of younger players in that World Cup. Now, a lot of them are playing at Real Madrid, Barcelona, Neymar at PSG. They are getting that experience in the Champions League and against the other big teams inside of their domestic leagues that is really going to help them on this big stage like the World Cup. But there is nothing that is bigger than this stage. Nobody watching you more, nobody counting on you more. But I think that Brazil team can come up to the occasion in this game at least and move through against a very good Mexico side.
Yeah, all right. So moving back down, G1 versus H2, Belgium and Poland. I think this is the same scenario that I was talking about in the first game, Uruguay versus Portugal. It's all going to have to depend on who shows up, who's in the best form. Belgium, of course, I think on paper, they can totally, easily beat Poland, but who knows? I mean, Poland might just have a great World Cup. Belgium might have a terrible World Cup, or Belgium might have an amazing World Cup, and Poland might also have an amazing World Cup, and we're going to have to see a very, very intense matchup. But maybe on paper, Belgium would win, but I think it's all going to have to depend on the form of each individual team and the individual players.
Yeah, this is a lot like Uruguay, Portugal, but it just kind of, I think this is just as big of a matchup, but it's going to be slept on because of Portugal and Ronaldo and some of the other teams like Messi in Argentina, Brazil. But this is going to be probably the second best matchup besides Uruguay and Portugal, and a very close second. You know, you think you have two very strong attacking teams, but who's going to be better defensively? I know we talked about Belgium might not have that team chemistry together just because they all play on rival teams against each other, different leagues, they don't get to see each other as much. But I really like this team. I really think that they actually have a strong shot at getting towards the final. I don't know if they can actually win it, but they're going to be very good in this World Cup. I think a lot of people are sleeping on them, and they will beat Poland in this game to move on.
Yeah, 2-1.
I could see a very close game just like that, maybe even a 3-1, but
yeah.
Just kind of like those other games, going to be a lot closer than the scoreline actually says.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. Belgium, like I said, on On paper, it seems like a really easy matchup, Belgium and Poland. But Belgium, I think, if they have a good World Cup, which I think they will, and I think this is the best generation Belgium has had in a long time, I think they can edge out Poland. Maybe not even edge out. I think it'll be, if they're in good form, it'll be an easy win for Belgium. But yeah, we're just gonna have to see. Belgium, Poland. We're gonna have to choose Belgium. All right, we're going over to the other side of the bracket. B1 versus A2. Spain versus Egypt. I think out of all of them, this is one of the easiest. I mean, Spain, of course, Egypt has Mo Salah. If they even come out of the group stage, if Mo Salah is in shape, but Spain, even though Egypt has Mo Salah, Spain has a full 11 of Mo Salahs in there.
Yeah, Spain is just so good all around. You think they have the best goalkeeper in the world in their net, David De Gea. But I think the problem is going to be who's going to be leading that front line. Is it going to be Alvaro Morata, who did not have the best season at Chelsea, or is it going to be Diego Costa, who had an alright season at Atletico Madrid? But that midfield, you think you have Isco in there, your players like that, Iniesta,
Thiago,
yeah,
Busquets.
They have a very strong midfield core, and even at the back too, they have Ramos, Piqué, Danny Carvajal. We'll see how fit he is, and Jordi Alba. That's a very good group of players that can really get you far in this tournament, and Egypt just has no chance against a team like that.
Yes, of course. I mean, also, you got to think about Spain and how bad they did, but I think they have grown, how bad they did in the last World Cup, I mean. But I think they've grown, and I think they have matured from that. I think they've learned from their mistakes in the 2014 World Cup, and I think that this will just be a breeze for them. All right, so we're going to go move on to D1 versus C2, Argentina versus Peru. Now, we said that Uruguay and Portugal is going to be the closest one on paper also, and I mean, but this one I feel like this one's a lot more intense, but in a different way. It's a lot more emotional. Two South American teams, two maybe Southern Pacific teams. Those Southern Pacific teams, they're very, very rivalrous, or I don't know what the word is, but they have a lot of rivalry between each other. Argentina versus Peru. I think they always show out for the big games, especially against the teams like Chile and Argentina and Brazil. All those other teams, they always show up. So I think this one's going to be a very, very tight match. Argentina also, as we talked, they sometimes don't show up to some games, and I think this one's going to be also very, very interesting.
Yeah, Argentina is just, they have a lot of great players. They just don't show up for the big games. They have a very attacking-minded team, and I think that's what can really punish that Peru team. But Peru, you really don't know what you're going to get against them. They are very good attacking, and they are a very strong defensive side, like a lot of South American teams are. We just got word this morning that their captain is going to be playing in this World Cup after being banned for 14 months. I know we talked about that last podcast, how that would work out for him. I think that's going to be extra motivation. He's going to be able to be on the pitch in that game to drive the team forward against Messi and Argentina. This is going to be a lot closer game than what anybody is going to think about it. And I really think Peru can actually upset Argentina in this.
Yes.
My gut feeling is telling me that Argentina is a better team, but I can definitely see Peru upsetting Messi in this stage.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Argentina going through on this. But very sneakily, they're going to get a 1-0 victory, whether it's a goal that comes very early in the game or very late in the game. But they are going to have a very tough game against a very good Peru side.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. I think that Argentina, overall, they have Messi, and they have a lot of other very attacking players like Sergio Aguero, Di Maria. But I think Peru is going to pull the upset on this one. I think they're just so much more motivated. They're so much more organized. They're so much more emotional. They have so much more. I think it's a scenario if they don't have very high expectations on this one. They don't have a lot of pressure. They're just in here to see how far they can get there. So yeah, I think Peru is trying to edge out in this one. And Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game, and this one's going to be also very exciting. I'm really excited to see this one. But yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you. Peru's going to move on to this one. Just to add a little bit of a little spice in this bracket, I think Peru's going to win.
I definitely would not argue against you on that, just because I think Peru has a great shot at beating Argentina.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, F1 versus E2, Germany versus either Croatia or Switzerland. So I know we disagreed.
Costa Rica, actually.
Oh, Costa Rica. My bad. So I think even though we disagreed, I think Germany, either team cannot beat Germany on this one.
No, I've been saying Germany's going to win the World Cup for the past 6 to 7 months, just because the depth they have, the players that they have, the manager that they have leading them onto the pitch every game, and they're the defending champions. Costa Rica, we got to see how they are. Switzerland, we have to see how they are, both of them in the group stage. But either one of them is just not going to have a chance. You could really see Germany putting in a 3 or 4-0 easy effort game into this. Of course.
Yes. I mean, I don't think there's really much to discuss. I think both Costa Rica and Switzerland have a good enough team to make it past the group stage. But against Germany, I mean,
they have no
only the biggest powerhouses in the world can beat Germany. In any World Cup, in any tournament, Germany is just so consistent. They're always so powerful. They always have so many great players, young players coming in every single year. There's just no chance for Costa Rica or Switzerland. I don't see an upset, 99%.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. H1 versus G2, Colombia versus either England or Paraguay. So we also disagreed on this one, and I'm gonna have to maybe change up my prediction of the finishing of Group G. I think that if England can get past the group stages, I think they have enough momentum to beat Colombia.
Yeah, I really can see them beating Colombia, but Colombia is one of those South American sides. They play with a lot of passion. They play very physical, and they are going to drive you into the ground at every chance they have. And I really think that England just does not have the same coaching and the same type of passion playing for their team to beat a team like Colombia, or even you can even go as far in saying against Peru. So I think Colombia is going to come on top against a Hurricane England, and they're going to have to go and sit the rest watching at home just like they did at the Euros.
I mean, this one's also a very tough one. It's not very interesting. For some reason, I'm not very interested in this one. But I think, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think Colombia will just have that extra spark in them. England, even though they can get past the group stage, they might not have enough. Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Colombia, all the way, versus England. All right, so now we have gone through the round of 16. Now we're going to go on to the quarterfinals. So the first game that we would be predicting would be Portugal versus France. What do you think about this one? A Euro final rematch. This is going to be even more interesting than the round of 16.
Yeah, this might be one of the best games we see the whole tournament. The way France attacks and defends, and the way Portugal can just play. No one expected them to get to the final of Euros in 2016. But I think now that we've seen they have the ability to win it, even without Cristiano Ronaldo captaining that side, it's going to be a very interesting matchup. But I just don't know if Portugal can show up for a whole 90 minutes against a France team that is a lot better than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's surprising to see how much France has grown in just 2 years. I mean, I looked at that France lineup in the Euros, and it just seems so incomplete. They had so many players that just weren't mixing in, and they had, for example, they had Sissoko at right mid, which was just so. France has just so much potential and so much talent that I can just not see how Sissoko could get into that lineup. But I think now they have really pushed and have grown that team, and it's just a powerhouse. And they have so much depth, and they have so many young players, so many young passionate players, and they're gonna have a lot to prove. So, yeah, I think France. It wouldn't be easy, but I think they just have so much going for them that they're gonna easily beat Portugal.
Yeah, you really think back to that 2016-2017 Monaco team, led the line by Kylian Mbappe, your Bakayoko, your Benjamin Mendy, your Sidibe, your players like that, your Thomas Lemar as well. They have really they grew up to that stage so quickly that no one expected it, and they made a good run all the way to the semifinals, where if it wasn't for a few minor mistakes, they would probably be in the final playing against Real Madrid. You can even go that far as saying that they beat Juventus in that semifinal. And then you're thinking, wow, what kind of team can this be? You already have 4 young Frenchmen going into the World Cup as Champions League medal winners already.
Yeah.
Even if it's just second place. And they're a very young team. France is. You think Griezmann's 26, Pogba's 24, but then you have Mbappe, who's 19, Lemar, who's 20 or 21, I believe.
Ousmane Dembele as well.
Yeah, it's a very young team, and maybe the stage against Portugal might be too much for them, but I definitely see them going through.
Yeah, I mean, even if the young players don't show up, I think they even have enough I want to call them old time, but more experienced talent like Giroud, Griezmann, Matuidi, Lloris, who can just easily lead that France team, even though it's very young, into the semifinals or even the final as we move on to these predictions.
Yeah, Giroud is a premium goal scorer. I believe he's the highest goal-scoring player in French history, if I'm not mistaken. And I really think that he can just come into that team, even if it's 0-0 and he comes in the 75th minute, he could bag a hat trick in that amount of time.
Yeah.
With the way he turns a chance into nothing. And I really think that he can really devastate a team like Portugal.
Yeah. All right, so we're missing time, so we're going to have to move on a little bit quicker here. So Brazil versus Belgium. I think this one's really interesting, but long story short, I think Belgium's going to pull the upset on this one.
Yeah, I can't go wrong with you here. Belgium has, like I talked about, they don't have everybody looking on them like they do Brazil, saying that they're World Cup favorites. This is a team good enough to maybe fight with Germany in the final to win a World Cup. I know they have a lot of good players. This is their generation that are in their prime, and Roberto Martinez is a very good manager as well internationally.
Yeah.
So I really think that they have a good chance. I think that they're going to beat Brazil here too with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you on that. And they might even win this whole tournament.
Really? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. So let's move on. Spain versus either Argentina or Peru. So we did disagree on this one a little bit. We did see each other's points. But I think even if either Argentina or Peru move,
Spain's
moving up. There's no question about that. Spain just has so much depth. They have so much talent. They have so much cohesion within that team that maybe if Messi's feeling inspired and he's feeling good at this World Cup, he could pull an upset on this one. But in all reality, Spain should win either against Argentina or Peru.
Yeah, no matter who they play against, they're going to have a superior defense. They're going to have a superior midfield. And I think even though that their attack is not as good as you look against Argentina, but the way that they just play out of that, they use their strengths as their strength, and they're going to beat any team that they see, and they're going to beat either Argentina or Peru, whoever they see playing in that quarterfinal matchup.
Of course. All right, so let's move on. Germany versus Colombia. We did agree on Colombia, right? Yes, Colombia. Yes. Germany, Colombia. I think same thing as Spain versus either Argentina or Peru. There's no way. Colombia could fight for it, but Germany, same thing as Spain. So much depth, so much cohesion, so much chemistry within that team that there's no way that I can see Germany not going back to the semifinals for, what is it, the 4th World Cup in a row?
Yeah, they have been just so good these past few World Cups, and I really don't see them slipping up against Colombia. I know they can give a game to them. It might be 2-0, but it's not going to be a 2-0 game. it's going to be a hard-fought victory for Germany, but I really don't see them losing to Colombia.
Yes. All right, so we did agree on France versus Portugal. So the semifinals would be France and Belgium. What do you think about this one? This one's going to be very interesting. Two French-speaking sides. You know, we're going to be hearing the French-speaking players yelling in that field. I think it's going to be so interesting.
It's going to be a very fun game to watch. Players are going to be playing very physical against each other. They know on the World Cup semifinals, this is a huge game for both their countries. And it's a big game for their careers, because if they win this game, now you're in the World Cup final. That's a big stage to live up to, and I really don't see why Belgium cannot take that, and I think that they're going to beat France in this game.
Really? You're going to think, this is a tough one, because I wouldn't be surprised if Belgium win the entire thing, but I just love France. You know what I mean? I think France just has so much more depth. Belgium, of course, they have a lot of good players, but they only have maybe a good 8 out of 11 players. They don't have a lot of depth in that team, but I think France just has so much more. And also, we have to keep in mind that this depends on how much Belgium shows up. They have a lot of raw talent, but they don't have a lot of chemistry. So it's all gonna have to depend on the moment, what they think in the moment. So I don't have to disagree with that one, and we're gonna have to, try to see how that works out in the final. But for me, France is moving on to the final.
I think the thing is, we talked about this with England. France does not show up every once in a while. You think back to that Euro Championship game, even against a Portugal team that did not have Ronaldo for most of that game, they still could not find any way to beat them in that game. Portugal was the superior side the whole entire time, even without their best player that has ever played for them.
Yeah, I mean, I can't deny that. I think that they did not show up for that final game, but like I said before, France is just so much more complete now. Like I said, in the Euros, they had Sissoko, they had some players in there. I mean, they had Rami at right back, they had Koscielny at right back. I mean, center back? My bad. But it's just so much more complete now. They have Umtiti, they have Varane, two players. Varane just won, I think, his 4th Champions League. Mbappe, Dembele, Neymar, Matuidi, Pogba, Tolisso. There's just so much talent in that team that can easily get into that Belgium team. Easily.
Yeah, I know we talked about this before. France does not have the same experience as Belgium does. Belgium is a lot of players inside of their prime, 28, 29, 30 range.
Yeah.
France has a lot of players that are 23, 24. I know they were in the squad last World Cup, but they never really played. They never really had the same experience that some of these Belgian players have had. And so I think that's what's going to help prevail them above France.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to keep that in mind. So Spain versus Germany. This one's I think it's going to be even more interesting. Maybe not because of... Maybe we won't have enough drama. It's going to be all business in this one because both teams are very gentleman-like in that way. They're very it's all business for them. So I don't know. I love Germany, and like you said, you think Germany is going to win this World Cup. I think Germany is going to move on to the final once again in this one.
Yeah, I really think this is going to be a little bit different from that other semifinal. You think they both have a lot of good experience, Germany and Spain, but if this didn't work out like it did, I really could see Spain getting all the way to the World Cup final and then forcing that against Germany. But it's a shame that this has to be the semifinal game because it's
so good.
It's so good. But I think Germany's going to prevail on top in this one.
Also, something what I want to point out about Spain. Spain right now is very divided. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's all over the Spanish media. It's kind of like England with Sterling's whole gun tattoo scenario, and maybe not like that, but just the whole divide between Real Madrid, Barcelona, PK versus Ramos, Isco not feeling too hot, Diego Costa, being the way that he is. It's just, and also all the controversy between what the players that got selected for this World Cup. I think Spain, even though they have a lot of depth, they might not have that. They might not have as much cohesion as Germany.
Yeah, I really don't think that they have enough left in the tank to beat a team like Germany. You think that they're going to have to play Peru or Argentina, two very good sides, in the quarterfinals, and that's just going to wear them out.
Yeah.
I don't think they have enough depth against a team like Germany, and that's why I think Germany will win.
I don't think it's the depth. I think it's just the cohesion. And I think something that I really love about Germany is, even though some of them might play in different teams, when you see them, they always act like a family. You know what I mean?
They are just so fluent
Mhm.
on the field that you just can't even tell. They look like they're a club team, and they just play together nationally.
Yes. All right. So I think we both agree Germany going over to the final, and it's going to be either France or Belgium in the final. I think this is a tough one. This is a tough choice for me. Just with just how much for the longest time, ever since maybe Pogba became a really big player, I've always said that France is going to win the next World Cup, and I'm going to have to stick to that. And I respect Nate for his other opinion. It's going to have to be France for me.
Yeah, but like I said before, I just don't think that they have enough experience and leadership on the big world stage. But getting to the semifinals, possibly the final of this tournament, can really help them next time. I think 2022, they can win the World Cup.
Yeah.
But this is 2018. You kind of have to come down to earth and look at this German side. And there is almost no competition at all that I see, like any team. The way the Germans play on their best game, I can even see them smashing France 7-1 again.
Really?
In the World Cup final.
Well, something that I kind of want to point out also about Germany, even though they're always very strong, very cohesive, they don't have the leadership that they had in 2014. In 2014, they had Schweinsteiger, they had Lahm, they had Klose, all these very experienced World Cup players. But who do you think is that experienced in this team now?
I really think that you look at players like Mesut Ozil. I know he's not. He doesn't have the personality to be a driving force in the team. But I think you have to look at Manuel Neuer. He's back in training. He's ready to play for this World Cup. Toni Kroos, who made the big money move to Real Madrid after the last World Cup, after he excelled. And I think those players are just going to show up again. And I think Timo Werner, striker for Germany, probably will be the top scorer in this World Cup as well, just because of the way he gets the ball and the way he plays.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for this World Cup. I think it's going to be either France or Germany winning this one. So, thank you, Nate. I've had a fun time predicting this World Cup with you. I am very excited, like I said. Any final thoughts?
I really don't know what's going to happen, but I think regardless of who they play, I'm so confident in Germany winning this World Cup, and I can see them having some close games, but I think that they're just going to blow past everybody. They have the depth, they have the coaching, they have the talent to win back-to-back World Cups against anybody they play in this field.
Yeah. Well, this has been Dave Paredes
And Nate Thomas.
Thank you, Wildcats. We're signing off.